me today in the conversation, NITI Aayog member Arvind Virmani. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time and speaking with NDTV Profit. I'd like to start by asking you that NITI Aayog recently proposed easing investment regulation for Chinese entities in India, suggesting to acquire up to 24%, without any additional clearance. Now, what's the thought behind this suggestion, and what has changed, since the restriction has been imposed, in somewhere in 2020?
First, let me clarify that NITI is a think tank. We are all, have our views. And these are expressed in various working papers and so on. So I can only give you my thinking and approach as having dealt with this for many decades. Firstly, I would say the basic policy remains unchanged. The policy was very clear that countries with which India shares a land border, there will be certain procedures which it will have to go through for approval of FDI, etc. There had been no change in the trade. The trade was still open. It's been going on, and trade has been increasing. Because it involves a certain amount of case by case, the issue is always on discussion of the rules. The basic approach is very clear. Where there are strategic sectors, those have to be managed in a different way from countries with which we don't share borders, and that I don't think there's any dispute about that. Everybody in the country agrees to that. So it's really what has to be considered from year to year is the actual application of the policy. Mm-hmm. Now, clearly, there was a period in which there was a conflict. The policy was much stricter. As that thing eases, the application of that policy will obviously change. Now, so that said, the thought has always, and of course, one should not think that only we are changing. Other people are also changing. We have seen that countries, without naming them, there's no need to necessary, have started imposing various bans, etc. So just to assume that if you open up to FDI, things will just come in our way, that is now outdated in my view, right? Because we have seen actions which show countries looking at their own challenges and adjusting their policy. So we have to do it, right? So what is the issue? The issue is trade is increasing. There are certain items, many items, where FDI can come in and produce those items competitively within the country, not just because of tariffs. One reason, obviously, the tariffs, which have been there from before, but the other reason is that supply chains are beginning to develop in India, and if they do not participate, they will eventually develop and disappear. So from our perspective, the issue is of accelerating changes. It is not a question of yes or no, or a complete ban or complete opening. The idea is the policy is the same. The application has to adjust as the global situation changes, and the overall idea is not that somehow it's magic and it will happen by itself. It is to accelerate this process which is already happening, and there are new constraints from outside. So we have to think clearly what is in our interest and what is not. But there are certain sectors where it is obviously there is no strategic issue. For example, shoes. Normal shoes, there is no problem. So let the all foreign companies compete. Where it is borderline, where some thought has to be given, there is already a thinking that having JVs or having a majority partner will take care of it. And then, of course, there will be defense-related items, dual-use items, where one has to be much more careful. Now, this is not just India. This is happening all over the world. For example, just to give you one example, the US has found that they were getting critical defense parts and services from a country which considers them their enemy. So they are not going to do that anymore. So we do not want to fall into the trap now. I mean, we should be forewarned. Bottom line, the idea is to accelerate, to help our industry, and industry itself is saying that there are certain items which, let's say 70% of that component or whatever is produced in China, and therefore it's very difficult to get it, let's say from an alternative Europe, Germany, Japan, or other industrial countries. And so the idea is to make sure that the hindrances to our own development are removed. It is not, I think, what is not true, which is often confused, is it's not a question of volume of FDI. That is absolutely not the consideration in my consideration. It is the capabilities. It is the acceleration of building of supply chains, which is important. It is not the amount of FDI. So it is about technology. About technology seen widely. You know, for 75 years I'm dealing with this issue in India. Technology is thought of some high-level technical thing. No, sometimes it is just how the plant is organized. What are the critical machines? How do you place them? What is the particular skills which will be critical? That is all technology.
It's a fair point, but the thing is that China is continue to flex its muscles. We have seen how they are putting some restriction on export of critical minerals like rare earth, specialized fertilizer. Do you think that this is the time to, open up for them, even though we are talking about case-to-case specific and not those areas where the national security is not a concern, but the way they are flexing their muscles, what approach government should adopt at this point of time to solve this issue?
So I already mentioned that it is not one hand which it takes to clap. If anyway they are not going to come in, they've restricted it. Whether you're open or not is not going to matter, right? So when you say open, it's an old argument on control. When we used to say remove this control, one of the answers used to be, I remember this from 50 years, I mean it's not now, that, nobody will come in. Okay, if nobody will come in any case, why are you controlling it? So, this argument can be a circular argument, which I've seen so many times. I think it's, what do you call it, a diversion. It's red herring. I mean, if they were not going to come anyway, it doesn't matter, right?
No.
I mean,
so the fact is that while we are talking about, giving them 24%, there is no beneficial ownership threshold so far.
Said, the specific things you're quoting, I am not
which
going
is,
to defend.
Which is okay, sir. I understand. But do you think that government...
That's a general process that you specify percentages. So when you say majority, you obviously have a percentage, 51%, right? And in some cases, we've done this again, for 50 years. We first always open up to 24%, then we go about 26 because it has some meaning in corporate thing. Then we go to 49. We've done it in insurance. We've done it in hundreds, and I've seen it. It's all in my mind, which is not coming to memory. But all these things are there. So this is just a process. This is just a way of saying that perhaps during the conflict, everything was kind of shut off mentally. Not that the policy specifically had changed. And it is time to rethink the thing under current conditions. I would read it that way, rather than the specific things.
Fair point, sir. Moving on the India-US deal. Now, the last we heard from the President Trump's indicating to have India could, bear a tariff between 20 to 25%. This also some way implies that the whole hope around having an interim deal diminishes. What's your take on that? And should industry brace for now higher tariff impact from August 1st?
So, I've been thinking about this question, and I'm going to give you a new perspective. Okay, so uncertainty is clear. Everybody is facing uncertainty. Every day there are various statements, etc. And every day we have our new wisdom. So I will be humble on that point and give you a different perspective. So what is the perspective? I was thinking today about game theory. We used to have a lot of game theorists in India. If I remember, DS Delhi School and JNU had a lot of game theorists. But there is a basic proposition in game theory. I'm not an expert on negotiation, so I will not comment directly on those. But in game theory, they say if you have a weak point, there is a standard negotiating strategy. You threaten harm on everybody, and if you can show that the other party will both of you will be harmed. This is formal theory. I'm talking about theory, okay? That both of you will be harmed, but if the other party is harmed more, your negotiating position actually improves. These are formal equations and graphs I vaguely remember. I'm not an expert on game theory. So actually, thinking about it in those terms illuminates this. What seems to be is classic game theory. Okay, so the statements are designed to increase credibility of the harm. Okay, and so one should not, I don't want to comment on the specific things because that's the whole point of negotiations. It's all about changing the perceptions. It's all there in game theory, actually. Okay, so two things I would say. We should not weaken the case of our negotiators. Okay, by supporting an opponent's game theoretic moves. Okay, so don't believe everything the opponent says. Okay, because that is designed to increase the credibility of the threat point. It's called a threat point. There's a natural point and a threat point. Okay. So I don't want to bore your users about it, but it's all part of game theory. So my suggestion to everybody would be, please strengthen the hand of your negotiators. Don't overplay what your opponent is saying. It's all opponents. I don't mean in any strategic or sense, but in game theory negotiations. I'm saying only in negotiation.
But so the range which they're talking about, 20 to 25%, and just I wanted your view on that will, putting India into some sort of temporary disadvantage over countries like Indonesia, where the tariff has been decided. It's much lower. It's between 10 to 15%.
A week ago, somebody asked me, is it going to be like Indonesia? And the answer was, I would think so. Yesterday, somebody asked, is it going to be like something this? Possible. Please, this is classic game theory. Okay, let's not.
Are you somewhere hinting it's a tactic pressure from the US?
Actual reality. Okay, what I have seen, has happened. What has happened is that the position, the standard normal has been changed from zero duties, which was the expectation of the last 20, 30 years, to a level of 10 to 15%. That has happened, okay? With the acceptance of the UK and the EU, major players, with Japan it will happen. These are the major conventional producers in the world, okay? That normal has been changed from less than 5% average which the USA had to a range of 10 to 15%. That is now a given. That is the only thing I can say for certain. The rest is, I would say, part of the negotiating strategy.